Take the Wrestling Podcast coming to you on September 16, 2021, technically September 17th, because we're 5 minutes away from Friday. I'm the host, Ernest Peter Cushing, alongside Mike Bernier, Joe Lopez, Bellas. Could we not watch New York Giants football ever again before show? Please.
Who told you to watch the Giants play football? That makes no sense.
Why would the NFL put a meaningless NFC East game on primetime television ever? The same reason why next week's game is the Houston Texans versus the Carolina Panthers.
Oh yeah, and I'll be not watching that game. Other than maybe gamble, but that's about it.
Who's the quarterback in Carolina these days?
Your old quarterback. Before you stop watching the Jets. Weren't you Jets fan? Weren't you Jets fan?
Samuel Darnold.
I was like, Mark Sanchez is playing there?
Yep, the Sanchino.
Sanchez. Anyway, you know what? I'm done football for the week. Fuck it, let's go to wrestling, man. I'm ready to get down to the wrestling. We got a good show today, actually. Can't wait to dive into it. We have as Mike said in our text today, we'll reveal it later in the show, we do have a new number one leader on the Wrestling of the Week on Take the Wrestling, so we'll reveal that at the tail end of the show. But first, let's get to Mike's topic first.
Can I, before we interrupt,
sure.
Before we go there,
yeah.
Are you ever going to look up and be like, hey guys, we got an awful show for you guys today. Don't listen to it. It's going to be hot garbage. Every intro you go, we have a great show for you guys tonight. That's like saying, like, hey guys, we're playing Jeopardy tonight, and there's going to be questions. It's like, what the fuck? And wait for the one time you're like, hey guys, we're going to have an awful show tonight. It's like Jeopardy, like, hey guys, we got a big wheel here. We're going to spin it. We're going to spell things.
I'll do that. Saudi week, I'll do that. Awful show today. Then we cover that Saudi show in October.
I mean, it's going to be...
Wait, we should do an episode... We should do a spin the wheel episode, but we should fill the wheel with really dumb topics.
Dude, we've been saying we would do it for a while now. We should do a spin the wheel next
But I'm
weeks.
saying specifically, like, we should come up with, like, the dumbest topics we could possibly come up with and make that our spin the wheel. Like top 10 favorite pole matches or, like favorite mom appearances in pro wrestling.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Favorite pro wrestling mom, honestly, and why is it Judy Bagwell?
Yeah, why is it Judy Bagwell?
Or was it Brodus Clay?
Why isn't it Judy Bagwell?
I mean, but someone did call Brodus Clay's mama, so.
How many mamas have actually gotten airtime on the WWE television, for example?
Wait, what?
How many mamas have gotten airtime actually on mainstream pro wrestling programming?
They were showing the Benjamin's mom.
All right. Anyway, let's get to the first topic.
My topic for this week, because we have a very large show coming up on Wednesday evening from Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York, AEW Grand Slam, as they're calling it. I thought it was going to be at a baseball.
No, it makes sense because tennis.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Grand Slam.
Right, Grand Slam tennis, Arthur Ashe.
That's what they call all the tennis.
So in a month, are they going to have one in France?
I mean,
and then a month after that, they're going to have one in Australia, and then a month after that, have one in.
They sure as hell love theming these, theming up these fucking Dynamite episodes, which is I don't hate it, but it's kind of like okay.
Oh, I love it. To be honest, I love it.
You like it? Okay.
No, I love it.
Oh, you love it? Okay.
I literally love it. I think it's a great way. It makes each Dynamite actually feel kind of worth tuning into, to me.
Super Raw.
Okay, well, now you guys have ran over my fucking topic. My topic was
sorry.
Too much.
Go ahead.
I'll let you guys go ahead. And Joe says he loves it, then I'll let him explain why and go from there.
So that is
the question?
He doesn't know the question. He's just
Is Grand Slam too much?
I don't think so.
Too much too soon.
So, okay, what I feel like the best way for me to respond to that, though, is because I feel like for you to pose the question, you're probably saying, yes, it is. So what's your reasoning? Why is it too much too soon?
They're coming off of the quote, and this is for all you internet people that are going to sit here and watch the show or listen to the show, the greatest pay-per-view of all time.
Since Mania 17.
No. The new trend is it's greater than that, and it's the greatest fucking wrestling pay-per-view ever.
Good job, Mel.
Chill the fuck out. That's
Absolutely.
first off.
Yeah.
Good show, better surprises. I digress.
Calm the fuck down, though.
We're getting Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan with 2 weeks worth of promos. We're getting the obvious Britt Baker Ruby Soho match, fine with me. Malachi Black versus Cody, now that Malachi has gone through every fucking member of the Nightmare Factory. Shocker. And Cody finally got done recording his stupid-ass fucking show on TBS, where now randomly we're getting run-ins from Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, that was weird.
It's a little weird. I know why it happened, though.
No, funny, though. Everybody that watched that show on Wednesday, oh, I love Rosario Dawson. Oh, they're co-hosts on Go Big Show. It makes sense. But fucking WWE did something with, like, Jake Paul and Logan Paul, who have billions of YouTube followers, and it's...
Yeah.
Man, what the fuck's WWE doing? Really, guys? Really? We're now picking and choosing who we can fucking argue over who's on shows.
Right.
Like, this is what we're doing. Like, come on. We have a really... I don't know, like, Brian Pillman and FTF is deserving to be on this show.
I love that build, to be honest with you. That's a good build.
Yeah, I think that's a cute little feud.
It's not deserving to be on your fucking biggest show that is not a pay-per-view. You're filling up a fucking tennis stadium with 20,000 people. No.
Isn't MJF from that area, though?
I mean, right, because I feel like it's worth having MJF on that show, and you're done with the Jericho stuff. It's better than having him just in some random match. Like, at least there's been build for it for like a week or two. So I kind of like it.
I feel like your counter to everything is always, oh, it's had a week or two build. This is my point. There's no build to this show.
Yeah, no.
This is PWG all over again. Let's just put the best 5 fucking matches on this show, and let's put the next 3 best matches on Rampage, so that we can fill Arthur Ashe with 20,000 fucking people a week, like 3 weeks after having.
So is the issue you're having with everything going on into Grand Slam week? And by the way, it's not just one day. Rampage has been stacked too, because they're doing 2 hours next week on Rampage.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And the matches for that are Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. The Super Click, a.k.a. Cole and the Bucks versus Christian and Jurassic Express.
Right.
And Punk versus Hobbs.
Right. So is your issue more so not so much is the card, but is it the build to the card you don't like? It's short build?
My issue is that if you were going to load up a card at the end of the fucking day, like, all this is a super card to me. There's nothing. My issue is Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega is a pay-per-view caliber match. Why are you giving it away for free on TV?
I think that's why they're doing non-title, because obviously the non-title angle gives it. Well, obviously for 2 reasons. Number one, the rankings. Well, yes, that makes sense.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Your non-title shit is non-existent to me. They sold us Christian Cage versus fucking Kenny Omega 2 weeks before it happened on pay-per-view. Non-title or not, that match should not happen in any way, shape, or form as a single match until you can put it on pay-per-view.
Is it possible Adam Page being sucked out of the roster now because of his child, whatever, fucked everything up? Because I mean, Adam Page was going to be the direction we were going in prior to.
No. What fucked it up was the fact that they finally decided to fucking bring in Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan. Whether Page was there or not, I'm sorry. If Adam Page walks out of the All Out as the champion, are those 2 guys debuting the same way?
No.
Okay, so the fact that Adam Page left made these 2 guys coming in actually make fucking sense. So rather than doing this on a show that needs help, or a show like a pay-per-view where you're selling a show, no, we're going to give it away for free because we're in New York inside of a tennis stadium.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. Would you prefer this be like a normal Dynamite then? Despite the location and everything and the pomp and circumstance around this big show in New York,
there's no such thing as a normal Dynamite.
Okay,
because they've turned every one of them into a fucking super card.
That's true.
There's no build. There's literally no builds to these matches. The only match that has any kind of remote build is MJF versus fucking Brian Pillman Jr. Like, this is real life. Oh, I'm sorry. and the Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley feud, because that's actually been going on since the pay-per-view, and Suzuki's been on the show and stuff like that. Kenny Omega and Daniel Bryan have had 2 interactions that have included Kenny Omega not wanting to be anywhere near Daniel Bryan. Britt Baker and Ruby beat Jamie Hayter.
Right.
Ruby, we knew was going to get that because of the winning the Battle Royal. Like, we knew she was the number 1 contender. We knew that match was going to happen sooner rather than later, and sooner rather than later making sense to be in New York.
Cycle, Mike. You agree with Mike also, too? They did too soon? Too much too soon? Okay. Continue discussing that right back.
This show doesn't need Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
I would have saved Cody versus Malachi as the main event for a show in a couple weeks. Rochester, St. Louis, something like that. If this isn't one of those where it's like, man, we really could use that Malachi Black Cody Rhodes match whenever we have fucking 5 other matches that are just as strong. Like I feel like that match in this card isn't a necessity. And I feel like Cody randomly coming back after like fake retiring in Jacksonville, like Cody should have come out and cut a promo where he was just like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know what I should do anymore. Guys, I really think I'm done. And have Malachi come out and kick his fucking head off again. And just leave. And then the next week he comes out and Brandy comes out and pulls you're not just fighting for me, you're fighting for the first ever mixed race baby in the world.
Right.
And then Cody's like, you know what, you're right, honey. And now he has the drive and now he has the desire to go be, a challenger and to go fight, And here, that's the perfect main event for the October 6th show, which is my birthday, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
So here's what I'm feeling right now. I feel like we keep saying that AEW is very much like PWG with the way that they're booking. And it is, like, 100%. It definitely is. I think that it's finally time, though, to just kind of embrace, at least, like, for me personally, I think that I'm just going to embrace that that's what it is. And if that's what it is, then what they're doing is right for them. Like, they are giving us exactly what if PWG were on TV every week, PWG would be booked exactly like this. So, if AEW is just going to go full steam ahead and try to be the TV version of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, then you know what? Do it. And this is them doing that. So that's why, like, to a certain level, I'm okay with it. It used to bother me a lot. It used to bother me a lot. It used to be like, wait, why are you guys blowing through all these big matches and all these big angles and all this so quickly when you can have some of these things last 6 months that you're going through in 3 weeks. Why are you doing that? That used to bother me. But if this is just what they're going to do, then you know what? Like, you're right. You can either like it or not like it. I'm okay with it right now. And I might only be okay with it because it's delivering right now. If they hit a point where it's not delivering for me, then I'd be like, yo, but like, stop. Like, I'm not enjoying this. But right now, I'm really enjoying it. Like, I'm excited to see all of these matches. Like, yeah, it would be smart of them in a lot of traditional booking senses to save Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. But I'm not going to act like I'm not excited to see that match next week. Like, that is going to be one of the reasons why I tune into Dynamite next week, because I want to see that match. So I'm okay with them. Like, at least they're being consistent in my mind. Since they've returned to the road and since they've started touring again, they've been consistent about, like you said, there is no such thing as a normal Dynamite at this point. Every episode of Dynamite's got a theme. Every episode of Dynamite is the next biggest episode of Dynamite ever. And they're being consistent with that aspect at least. Like, every week, you're getting not even necessarily one big match anymore. Now you're getting like 2 or 3 big matches. You're getting storylines that start this week so that they can have a payoff next week. And that's the end of it. You're getting that level, which it's a style. It's a stylistic choice. It's like, look, We all used to watch Raw back in the day and Nitro back in the day where it was that Crash Stevie. Things would happen one week and not even exist the following week and all of that. They're not quite doing that. They're definitely, like you said, I think it's more of a hybrid of like what PWG would be doing if they had a TV show. And that makes a lot of sense for given the people who are involved in a lot of the creative aspects of AEW, that they would be the people who are trying to do PWG on TV. So I'm okay with it at this point. And I'm only okay with it because it's consistently been what they've been doing for at least the last, when did they return to the road? Back in like July?
July.
Right. So like for the last like month, let's call it month and a half to 2 months, they've been doing this exactly. So I'm okay with it. In fact, at this point, the weeks when they have episodes of Dynamite where there is nothing big going on or there isn't a theme to it, those are the weeks that feel odd. Those are the weeks that are like, why am I watching this right now? Like that, like the week after the pay-per-view where there was like a whole lot of nothing that happened. That episode of Dynamite low-key kind of sucked. And it kind of sucked because it wasn't what Dynamite has become the last couple of months, which is essentially your big show of the week, your flavor of the week. It's like back when Ring of Honor used to run shows all the time. Remember when Ring of Honor, and I know you remember this, when Ring of Honor got to a point, they started out running one show a month, and then they were running 2 shows a month, and then it was like they were running 2 weekends a month where it was 4 shows, and you can kind of tell very quickly like what the A show was and what the B show was, and that became problematic for Ring of Honor because at the end of the day it was kind of like, okay, so I could go watch the New York show or I could watch the show in Manassas. The New York show has these 8 big matches on it, and Manassas has a 6-man tag involving No Remorse Corps and fucking the Vulture Squad. That's their big match. Like, gee, I wonder which DVD I'm going to buy at the end of the day. You know, I feel like AEW is doing a good job 9 times out of 10 of making you want to tune in every week and not decide which one is the A show and which one is the B show. Because it'd be easy for them at this point to literally do like 3 weeks a month that are kind of just and then 1 week a month where it's like this is the Dynamite that you can't miss. What they're trying to do, in my opinion, is make it so that every week is the Dynamite that you can't miss. And I like that. Like this week's episode of Dynamite, I wanted to tune into it to see what would happen on that show. It delivered to me. And then they gave me a whole bunch of matches for next week that make me want to tune in next week. And the thing is, right now, I have no idea what they have down the pike for 2 weeks from now. Like, I don't know what the episode of Dynamite is after Grand Slam. That might just be a regular Dynamite. And guess what? It might not be that exciting. So, I don't know. Like, as far as I know, there is no theme for that. By next week, there might be a theme for that one. Where are they after Queens next week?
That one may not have a theme, but it's going to be a very heavy show.
But where are they? Do you know where they are? Where? Are they in Florida?
Nope. They're not in Florida till October.
Okay.
The show is at the home of the former Exalted One.
Oh, okay.
In Rochester.
Well, that's interesting. Now, I've heard rumors that if Bray Wyatt were coming in, he could potentially show up at that show. Yeah, I don't know that I buy that Wyatt.
I'm good. I'm good on fucking debuts right now. I'm good on people coming in. I'm good. Like,
no, I agree with you on that. I remember I said that after the pay-per-view. I was like, it feels like they put all their chess pieces on the board. I don't need any more chess pieces right now. I need you to play with these chess pieces. So yeah, I agree with you.
Literally, this is becoming like, let me pick up the phone and call Triple H and tell him to come book this roster in like a car crash style. Because it's like, oh look, it's all the WWE guys now being in the main event. Or all the X guys now going into main event matches. Punk, Bryan, fucking Cole. It's like they're all in like top flight matches, like 3 weeks in, and we get Sting and Darby Allin versus
Tully and John Spears. Are they doing that as a match?
FTR.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Probably was really hungry.
I'm used to it. He walked into you with a food pouch and said, "Dad, let's go."
Yeah.
Just observe.
Where are we at on the topic right now? I mean, because real quick.
To summarize really quick what I said, I feel like AEW is being consistent right now because, as Mike actually said when he was making his point, no episode of Dynamite is a normal episode of Dynamite. Every week is a theme. Every week is how many big matches can we throw out there now. And they've been doing this since they hit the road again back in July. So I think as long as they're doing this, as long as they're being consistent about it, and it's become their style of booking, I'm okay with it.
Right.
Which is why I don't think that Grand Slam is too much too soon. I think that it's consistent with the way that they're booking right now.
And they're really giving the fans they want, too, on top of that.
What?
They're giving the fans they want.
Yeah, exactly.
It affects the numbers, too.
Again, see, you say that you're giving the fans what you want.
What they want.
I mean, yeah, sure. Because Daniel Bryan versus fucking Kenny Omega has been the fucking fans' internet fucking wet dream for the last 10 fucking years. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. They go out and shit the bed on Wednesday night, there ain't a single soul in that building that's going to sit there and say that match sucked. There ain't a single soul that's going to sit there and ridicule that.
Oh, we agree that the AEW marks especially are very, very biased, no matter what. They can fucking do whatever.
Well, my point is, Tony Khan is doing this for one reason and one reason only. It's not for us.
It's for?
The 1.75 number that you can walk into TNT and TBS and go, look what I did on Wednesday night, guys. Give me more time. Give me more money, or I'm going to take my shit somewhere else.
He's getting closer to that number.
I'm sorry. It's a fucking car crash, dude. Okay. If Raw and SmackDown did the same thing every week, and we're putting up those rating numbers every week, so they could go to Fox and get a bigger deal. Why else are you doing car crash shows? At the end of the day, it's their style. It's how they're booking. Okay, but guess what? In 6 fucking months, you're going to need 17 more people to fucking debut because you're going to have no fucking matches left.
No, so let me say your gripe on this is actually legit because that's not something I would do personally. Like, I'm more of the conservative, like, let it breathe, let these things take time. Like, I was even telling you today when they announced the Brock and Roman match for Crown Jewel. Like, we know we're going to get there at some point, but I like my hand held.
Okay, hold on.
Right.
That is October 21st, correct?
Right.
That match has now been announced almost a full month in advance.
No, I agree. Well,
hold on. A month in advance. With them having 2 or 3 different segments on SmackDown and their first interaction being at SummerSlam. Bryan and Kenny had their first interaction at All Out. They had an in-ring fucking promo the next week. And they're having a match 2.5 weeks later.
Right. No, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Car crash.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong.
I like that, honestly. I do.
It's garbage. It's garbage that it's a week and a half. But here's the thing. It's garbage that we're going to sit here and we're going to bitch about them doing it with a month's notice, but we're not going to give them shit about doing it because we want to see that match.
No. What you're saying is
about Brock and Roman.
What you're saying is legit. I'm not saying wrong.
Everybody's griping about Brock and Roman.
In fact, Mike, in fact, what you're saying too, the way you want it booked and whatnot, I agree with you. I'm the guy that likes slow builds. Like, the only issue I have with the Roman and Brock announcement was that you could have waited another week or two to announce it. That's all I'm saying.
Why are you going to wait a week or two? What's the difference in announcing it now and announcing it in a week or two?
Because there's still a Finn Balor match in between there coming up in a week and a half. That kind of. I mean, we think Roman's a better match, obviously, but I mean, you still want to. Like I said, I like my hand held when it comes to these things, slow builds. I'm with you on that one. And by the way, is it a car crash? Possibly, but I think AEW has made a decision now, especially where they're at in the last month. Everything's been go, especially with CM Punk coming and everybody else, and that they said, you know what, fuck it, we're going on the gas. This is go. And whether you agree with it, that's what they decided. And to their credit, at least they're sticking to that now.
And it's also working because their ratings are literally going up.
You could put cat piss in a cup and put it in an AEW ring and the ratings are going to go up.
Okay, but that means it's working.
But
that literally means that what they're doing
it literally means that people are going to watch it because it doesn't matter what the fuck you put on the television screen. That's what it means. You could give me 2.0 versus Scorpio Sky and fucking Ethan Page. You could give me fucking Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page versus 2.0 in a 60-minute Iron Man match, and it'll have fucking better ratings than Raw.
I also think that it's also pointless at this point now. Not
because the wrestlers are any better,
right,
but because it has a fancy little fucking name on it.
I also think, though, Mike, it's pointless. Not saying necessarily you, but I hear this argument also, not just you, but with the rest of the rest community. You know, it's pointless to compare these companies at this point. Both companies bring two different things to the table. You know what I mean? WWE's established. They have a formula. They're going to stick to their formula. They may shake things up here and there depending on the situation in the moment, like AKA Big E when cashes Money Back this Monday. But these are two different promotions doing two different things. And
though, at the end of the day, even if it is AEW fans are willing to tune in no matter what, even if you want to compare them to ECW fans who thought that ECW as a company could do no wrong ever, even if we look back on most of those shows now and think, oh wow, this is all shit. Which I do personally. If I look at a lot of ECW shows, I'm like, wow, I really don't see what everyone was seeing back then. Like, that's fine, but they got people to watch. You know what I mean? Like it's still, if it wasn't working, people wouldn't tune in. Like, fans, like, you don't get fans out of thin blue air. Tony Khan isn't out there paying people to be fans of the company. He's doing something to make them fans, and then, they're tuning in because they're willing to see what's going to happen. It's something
they're tuning in. They're tuning in to watch fucking. It has nothing to do with who's on the screen.
It doesn't need to do with who's on the screen. AEW's delivering.
Well, what are they delivering? A car crash.
They want to tune in and watch, otherwise they wouldn't be tuning in to watch it.
Yes, they would. That's what you're not understanding. They're watching because they don't fucking want to watch Vince anymore. It's something new. It's something fresh. Have a conversation with Craig. Craig literally goes, I watch AEW because it's not fucking WWE anymore. Not because of who they're putting in the ring. Not because of what
so Mike, here's a question. Mike, here's a question though, quick.
They're delivering an alternative, and people are tuning in to see an alternative. They know their audience.
Mike, here's a question though, real quick. Is that a bad thing though?
Yeah. Why is that a bad thing?
It's a bad thing because eventually when this shit burns out, and then everyone goes, oh, now what the fuck are we gonna watch? They're not gonna go back to watching fucking Vince.
Well, we're going to find out in 6 months to a year.
It's bad for the fucking business. We're booking through every fucking good match we have so that fucking Dynamite can pop 1.75 so you can go pull the wool over somebody's eyes and get a bigger fucking contract from them.
Right. As someone who's the AEW market on this podcast.
1.75,
right.
Dude. At the end of the fucking day, you're giving away the best matches you could have in that company for the next year for free on a random show at a tennis court.
I do think, as someone who's the AEW market of this podcast, I do think what you're saying, Mike, is legit. I do think what you're saying actually, because I actually somewhat agree with you, especially with the booking. Like, it's not something I would do personally. But again, because there's a lot of WCW-ish stuff going on here too with this booking. I agree with you there. But at the same time, at least now they've made a decision to stick with what they're doing here. Now, we'll see.
The fact that Daniel Bryan doesn't have to go through any single member of the Elite to get to Kenny Omega is fucking retarded.
Let's remember here. Wait. If we're going to compare it to WCW, right? Okay. So remember here. WCW started beating WWF because it offered an alternative. WWF then started beating WCW because it offered an alternative. If you can offer an alternative to something that people are tired of, and it works.
It started beating WWE because WCW started becoming god-awful.
Well, if WWF had also been god-awful, people wouldn't have been tuning into it. They started offering an alternative to what WCW was doing.
WCW started taking over when Hogan jumped, when all the WWE fans went with him to WCW. Then it was good for like a year and a half when he was the fucking head guy. Then Goldberg came over and ripped through everybody, ripped all the fucking matches, and then all of a sudden it became trash because you had people like Hogan and Hall and Nash with creative control and wouldn't lose to certain fucking people even though they should have. And what did WWE do? They just sat there and let them fucking kill themselves from the inside.
I will say that what Mike is saying there is the fear.
No, but WWF was booking in an alternative way. They were doing something completely different from what WWE was doing.
Do anything different. They didn't have to do anything different.
But they were.
But they didn't have to. WWE was killing themselves.
But they still were.
So different. What were they doing that was so different?
They were pushing new stars. They didn't have all the old guys everybody was used to on TV.
You mean Austin, Rock?
Rock became famous Austin became famous. Come on.
When WCW
alternative.
When they took over, they were already main stars. So the problem was nobody wanted to see Hogan and fucking Nash in the main event anymore.
You're right. You know what they wanted to see? An alternative.
I think it was a double entendre of things. It was a combination of WWE shows something different because I was one of the people
go back and watch 99 fucking Nitro. I'll tell you, it's the fact that they don't. It doesn't matter if it's an alternative or not. If I don't want to watch Kenny Omega for the 937th time come out and fucking cut the same corny ass fucking promo, it's not because somebody has an alternative. It's because I don't want to see Kenny Omega cut the same goddamn corny-ass promo.
So then you'd watch Raw instead, which is an alternative to AEW. Because they're not the same thing. They're doing two different things.
But that I get
They're both wrestling.
They're not both wrestling.
I mean,
they are.
WWE
is
wrestling.
World Wrestling Entertainment. It's wrestling's in the name, but
no, not according to Khan.
Polish a turd, still a turd. It's got wrestling in the name. It's the same thing. They wrestle in the same four. They wrestle in the same four boxes.
They're not presenting the same product that AEW is.
I do think
they're both presenting wrestling. They're both inside of a four-sided ring.
Okay.
I do think Mike, when he says that there's a fear that AEW might bust her nut too early, and then fucking we're sitting here a year from now and like, okay, we've exhausted all the good shit we have. What's next now?
Possible. That is fully possible, but we won't know that until a year from now.
Right.
Like, we can all look back on WCW and say, wow, you all kind of ruined something great because we have hindsight. We have the past. Like, we are in the future.
Right.
In 1997, you couldn't have predicted that WCW would no longer exist come 2001.
The double entendre was a combination of them fucking up the booking and also WWE presenting an alternative, edgier entertainment, if you will.
I'm just saying, at the end of the day, we don't know what the future holds. It's easy to predict that it's going to burn out, and I feel like that there's a valid argument there, but we don't know.
I feel like both of you guys have great arguments here.
We'll know in 2 years, We don't know right now.
I feel like both of you guys have great arguments here because I think, I would not rush it like this, me personally, if I was a promoter. But I think the schedule really made it this way too. You have September 5th pay-per-view, big pay-per-view, obviously the best pay-per-view they've had since they've been a company, and then literally 3 weeks later to have this big event, 2 weeks later rather, this big event at Arthur Ashe.
I think it's working. I think it's working for them, and yeah, it might not work forever, but we won't know. We won't know. So it no longer works. That's all I'm saying.
This is the beauty of this podcast. This podcast will hopefully exist in a year from now, and if shit starts changing, we'll have a chance to reflect and to discuss it. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's get to our trivia question of the week. If I can find this fucking number. This will
be. I only have 100 that I can actually wager.
Yeah, you only
can I wager 50?
Apparently, you're not allowed to do that.
Damn it.
All right, so today's question. So, 1 second, I have it right here. This is in tribute now to, of course, our new WWE champion, Big E. All right, here we go. On November 18, 2013, Big E won his first singles title on the WWE main roster by winning the Intercontinental Championship. He defeated this guy to win said title. And start now. Mike, you falling asleep already?
No.
Once again, on November 18, 2013, Big E won his first singles title on the WWE main roster by winning the Intercontinental Championship. He defeated this guy to win said title. Now, Joe, obviously you have to wager your
yeah, wagering 100 apparently.
Michael, what are you sitting right now? Like 2,000 or something like that?
No, hold on.
Mike's definitely kicking all of our asses. I know that much.
Rich, I have 2,000.
You rich fuck. So obviously Joe 100. Joe, Mike, would you wager?
I'm gonna go with 100 this week because I'm not 100% sure on.
I am shocked. I thought you might have gotten this too. Joe, give me your answer. What you got?
Oh my god. I'm gonna go with Santino Marella, but I really don't know.
Okay. Burn.
I feel like
I have like three names that are cycling through my head right now, and I'm just gonna.
You know what's annoying? I feel like I can literally envision like the match, everything, and I just can't imagine who he beat.
I'm gonna say Zack Ryder.
You're both wrong. The answer is Curtis Axel.
Wow.
Curtis Axel.
He was not. He was not the gentleman I had in my head.
Really?
Who else were you thinking?
I was thinking a member of the Shield.
I almost said Dolph Ziggler, but I think he like Big E was just in Dolph's corner or something like
He
that.
was. That was the first thing that went through my head, and I was
Right?
like,
Wrong.
Oh, well. All good.
all right, so Joe has his stimulus check of 1,000.
So does Joe get reset again? 1,000?
Yeah, Joe's reset, but he owes 1,000. So at the end of the year, he's already in the hole. So he's got to start making some money to pay it back.
Thanks, Joe Biden. Appreciate it.
Gotta start wagering big.
All right. Next topic. It is you.
Joe, you have trivia next week, so be ready for it.
That's right.
All right.
Save your money.
Can do it. I won't lose any more next week. That's good.
Go ahead, Joe. Feel free.
All right, you want it now?
Yeah, I'm ready for you, man.
All right, cool. I should hold my topic like hostage. I should be like, I'll only give you my topic if you give me 500 in Jeopardy points.
We held it 10 seconds as it is right now on the screen.
All right. So my topic is actually related to Big E's big title win. We're all very happy for him. And Big E is not the first man in the New Day to win the World Championship. Kofi was a few years ago. Kofi Mania, we all remember that. So my question to you guys now is, similar to the way all three members of the Shield eventually became world champions, and that's a pretty amazing feat, honestly. There aren't a lot of stables that could say that. Actually, I think the Shield were the first ones to be able to say that all their guys went on to be world champions. Like, Evolution had 4 world champions, but Flair and Triple H were already world champions. Batista and Orton went on to be world champions. But the Shield actually started lower on the card, and then they all went on to be world champions. And now 2/3 of the New Day have. So my question is to you guys, do you think Xavier Woods will ever make it the hat trick? Do you think that he will ever become world champion?
Big meaty man slapping me.
I don't know what that was, but I appreciated it.
Big meaty man slapping me.
Wait,
That's Big E.
John Stasiak, obviously.
Yeah. I hope they do. I hope there's a chance.
That was that edgy content that WWE was serving as an alternative. Me. The fuck.
With
No.
PMS.
Yeah.
God.
PMS. What?
You know what? Guys? This is how we're really going to pop the ratings this week and really beat WCW. Let's give a guy named Meat and 2 girls that represent fucking the women's menstrual cycle as the managers. Meat and periods. Great. Fucking gotta love it. It's a real great alternative to fucking Goldberg.
That's the alternative. I mean, I do hope that there's a chance that they even consider doing this. I've never saw him as a guy that can, win, that can win the world title. I looked at, if you look at these 3 guys, if I came in wrestling and I looked at 3 guys and I said, which guy of these 3 will look like a guy to win a world title? It'd be Big E. First off, I've seen Kofi win it. Number 1 was, to me, even as an outsider, a shock.
Yeah.
And not just because he's, not because of the fact that they have lack of black champions, but more so the fact that he doesn't have to look as a champion. At least a Vince,
it's okay.
Right, not a Vince guy. You know what I'm saying, if you will. Like Vince guys like Lashley.
I mean, he won the title on the right show
right
at the right time.
Right.
Because that was the in-ring show where they worried about wrestling. If you would have said he hadn't won it by now, like there's not a show where he would fit in right now to win the world title.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love to see Zero get it one time. Do I see it? I mean, they may consider it just because the idea of having the trilogy of the both 3 guys having it on the program would be appealing for them if for creative. I mean, I love to see it happen, but I I'm not going to put my money on it, honestly.
If it were to happen, do you think that Woods deserves it?
I was never sold to him as a single star until I saw that match against, I guess, Lashley a couple months back at Hell in a Cell. I was like, holy shit, he can do this. So,
okay.
Let's go. Deserves it, yeah. I'll give it to him. Fuck it.
Now, Mike, you're someone who is more versed in Woods. That sounded weird as a sentence. Yeah, you know Xavier Woods for more of his career than Ernest does. You're like me. I'm sure you can remember back when he was Apollo Creed back in TNA. He was like, 1 month Sanjay Dutt was the next best thing in pro wrestling, and then 1 month Austin Creed was the next best thing in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was going to hit it big and all that. And then Xavier Woods kind of like, he got signed by WWE and then was in like NXT developmental hell for the longest time. Kind of like going nowhere, not even really appearing on the shows that much or anything. And then had his moment with the New Day. And by the time he got on the main show with the New Day, it almost felt like he was going to be someone who was never going to happen, period. That he was maybe at the most going to be like a jobber on Main Event or something like that. And then all of a sudden,
he was going to be the hype man for the New Day on the microphone, the manager role.
Exactly. I'm only saying this as a joke. Please don't yell at me. The Adam Cole to Keith Lee. So we all know that's not true. It's been established. But
I mean, do we all know? Because there's still people that are trying to fucking sell that as a fucking thing.
I mean, there's people that still think that the COVID vaccine will give the government the opportunity to track your every move, as if Amazon
it doesn't
purchases to do that. But all I'm saying is Xavier definitely always seemed like the guy who definitely wasn't going to get anywhere near to the top. And now I feel like we do exist in a realm where it almost feels possible. But do you think it's actually possible? And also, do you think Woods would deserve it? Would you be behind him?
All right. So first off, I think the only way that Woods wins the world title that it actually makes sense is something similar to what happened with Kofi.
I agree.
He wrestles on a show that is more wrestling related, and is more in-ring driven, because he is a very good in-ring wrestler.
Underrated.
I think that's what, absolutely. I think that's what Woods needs. Like, if this draft hard resets everything, and SmackDown goes back to be, or Raw goes to being the worker show, where E stays there, and you get a lot of the guys who work good in-ring matches, and SmackDown becomes the spectacle with all the superstars and, Hockey Puck for Teeth and, Mr. Ed's fucking War Room and Paul Heyman, the Weasel in the middle, all that fun shit. Like, if you make SmackDown, like we talked about last week, like the Super A show, where you're like, okay, this roster is the roster that's going to compete against Wednesday Night Dynamite. And Raw is more the roster where it's like, you know what? Let's just have good matches.
Right.
A couple storylines. Let's make it a wrestling show.
Right.
Woods could succeed on that show, and eventually Woods could win the world title there. Do I think they're going to do it? No.
Okay.
Do I want them to do it? Absolutely. Does Woods deserve the world title? Absolutely. The only reason why I don't know that they'll pull the trigger on Woods, and this is no offense to Woods, I love Woods to death, you know this. He is so driven right now with Up, Up, Down, Down, and all the stuff going on there, and creating content for all the online stuff and Twitch and all of that. And unfortunately, part of what happened with Adam leaving is he lost a main piece of Up, Up, Down, Down with Cole going away.
Right.
And, they've lost now Uno on Wednesday. Well, Breeze they kind of were letting still kind of be around.
Okay.
Because he's not really wrestling for the competitor. He's kind of like on like a week-to-week like content contract just for Uno. But now that he's working hand in hand with the opponent, like obviously they're not going to let Adam be on Uno on Wednesday.
Let me ask you quick before you continue. I know this is I'm not into the obviously the gaming stuff. I know it's popular within the WWE community, all that. Why would that hurt Xavier for a future push.
Because he's putting all of his time into that. That's his baby. Up, Up, Down, Down is his.
Right.
Like, he's the one that's getting the wrestlers together to stream games and to do stuff at shows and to do content 5 days a week.
Okay.
There's something going up on Up, Up, Down, Down Mondays through Friday.
Okay.
And he is probably behind 80%, if not more of it, in some way, shape, or form. So it's like he has a second job while also being an in-ring competitor.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's one of those things, it's not a knock on Woods, because I love Woods, and the stuff that Woods is doing with Up, Up, Down, Down and stuff like that is so fun to watch because it looks like he's actually having fun. He also is a host of a game show on G4.
Okay.
So it's like he has his hands in a lot of baskets right now.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's I don't want them to, like, if Woods is like, I'd rather just keep my hands in the basket, be here with Kofi and E and, like, do our thing and just let us be us. But, like, I don't know necessarily that Woods is like, I need a world title to validate myself.
Right.
You know what's almost weird in an odd sort of way? I almost feel like all of that, as much as, like, it makes him one of the guys who's, like, out there the most and, like, the most visible and people see him all the time, in a weird way, it almost feels beneath a world champion. Like, usually the guy who is the world champion isn't the guy that you see out there every single day. He isn't the guy that you see doing 5 million different things and all of that. Like, you're, like Roman Reigns is not doing, talking smack.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you keep Roman Reigns as being kind of more of an attraction because he's the world champion. I mean, look, that goes back to the 80s when Hulk Hogan wasn't on every episode of Superstars.
Hell no.
Hulk Hogan was on maybe once a month to build to the pay-per-view that was happening that month after, that was going to happen only once every 3 months or something like that. So, so in a weird sort of way, like, I think there's a valid point there that, like, Woods is so involved in so many different things that you wouldn't see a world champion involved in. And that he probably wouldn't want to give those up to be the world champion either.
Well, that's why I said that if they went back to making, like, the megastar show, just all the megastars on one and having the wrestlers on the other, like, it could still work where Woods could be around enough to be a champion.
Right.
Even if it's a month or two, a transition thing, something like that.
Right.
I am curious if Vince presented to him, maybe he would consider it.
I don't necessarily know that I think Woods gets a long-term title run.
No,
I agree.
If anything, he'd probably get a month or two. Maybe something in the summer where it's like, oh, we just finished WrestleMania. He does something crazy like wins the title at the next pay-per-view and like drops it to somebody like the month before SummerSlam.
Money in the Bank? Random Money in the Bank winner? Cashes in one night?
I don't know because you've already used a member of the New Day winning with the contract. I don't necessarily know that I want a second member winning the same way. Like, I would rather have a dominant heel champion, and I'm just going to throw a name out there, and it will, if it's him, it's him. If not, it's fine. Give me a Baron Corbin winning the world title.
I'm for it.
And him coming out and, like, running through the entire, like, cruiserweight division. He has, like, a world title open challenge. He runs through, like, Lince Dorado, Grand Metalik, guys that shouldn't be wrestling for the world title. Not because they're not good wrestlers, just because they're not doing anything with them. Joe, I think you're muted.
Me? Joe? You hear me, right?
You said right, like you mouthed it, but no words came out.
Do you hear me now, though?
Yeah, you're fine.
I do.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, right. You're like, yeah, those guys. So I was like, what?
Random. Okay.
So, and then he runs through like that lower card of it, and then Woods comes out and he's like, you know what? You've beaten up all my friends. I'm coming for justice. Comes out and wins the world title with like a flash roll up or something.
Okay.
Right.
Like just something crazy, or even if he hits the front flip DDT. And just like, because Corbin gets distracted by somebody or something. Like, it just flash pins him and wins the title, holds it for a month or two, drops it either back to Corbin or to somebody else right before, like, SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And then Woods can shuffle back into the New Day stuff with Kofi and E, and everything kind of shifts back to some kind of normalcy. Like, you get the payoff of everybody from the New Day being the champion and holding the title. It's only a couple months, so Woods doesn't have to really give up any of the day-to-day stuff that he's doing with up, down, down. And then it's like you can still transition to other things with him, with Woods, or I mean, with Kofi, with E, stuff like that. So it's like, I want them to do that. I just don't necessarily know that they're ever going to pull the trigger, because my fear is something that's more. My fear is more that Woods is gonna just almost take a step back and go, I want to do video game stuff.
Right.
I want to play video games with my friends. I want to be with my friends and stuff like that. Like, I'm more fearful that Cesaro and Woods' contracts are going to run up. And, like, they're going to either, like, Vince, we want to be able to do whatever the fuck we want on up, down, down. Like, if we want to play Uno with Breeze and Cole, we should be allowed to.
Right.
And Vince is like, well, I own that company. Well, then they're like, all right, bye.
Right.
Like, I'm more fearful that the New Day is never going to break up, that one of them just isn't going to re-sign.
Right.
That's my more fearful thing, especially now with the ability to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with AEW trying new things like putting out a video game and putting out the GM mode on your phone and the casino game. Like, you have a gaming department in-house already. Why not bring over a guy who's a host of a show on G4, has a multi-million follower YouTube page at his fingertips? Like,
right.
Like, you're stupid for not having that conversation, because you have a built-in.
He's fantastic in the ring, so he would fit in that regard. Like, it's not like he's afraid of that.
And if Cesaro comes with him,
right?
Now you have all four of them back together. They can play Uno every Wednesday night before fucking AEW Dynamite. Yeah. Put that shit up every Wednesday night. They can be talking about the show. They could you could get the million views that Woods was getting on those things.
Yeah.
And now everybody's happy. Because I guarantee you, Tony Khan ain't going to take as big a cut as Vince is of the up, down, downstream.
He might not take any of it.
That's my point. So now Woods, now the four of them are making more money. Everybody's happier on that end. Like, this is something like more in depth than a just, hey, I want my stream back kind of thing.
Right.
I want to play video games with my friends kind of thing. Like, it's a little deeper when it comes to Woods, and it's like, I'm more fearful that he'll leave and go to AEW, or even just be a free agent and get those guys together and just play. And Tony Khan ain't going to tell Adam Cole no.
Right.
No.
You're not working with the competitor.
What's interesting about a guy like Xavier Woods is he really, as much as we just got done saying, like, he was someone who for a while felt like he was never going to make it to be, like, this big star, he's made it to the point where I don't know that he needs to be wrestling in 5 years if he doesn't want to be.
Nope.
Like,
how old
he has the ability to do
whatever
he wants.
Right. As far as we know, he's in really good health. He's never had any I can't think of any major long-term injuries that he's ever had.
He was out a year and a half when he blew his Achilles out.
Yeah, last year.
So he had history.
That was before Kofi's title run.
Right.
Because I remember that he blew it out at a house show, and then he was out for like a year, and then he came back, and I think it was right after that the whole Kofi Mania stuff started.
Okay, I remember that.
You got hurt again too recently as well, like during COVID, prior to COVID.
So what I'm saying though is, here's someone who is, he's not old. Like he's a decent age. I don't know how old he is, but I'm imagining he's probably maybe around my age, maybe a little bit younger even. I'm not even sure about that. But he's decent age wise. He's had injuries,
35.
But nothing that has ever been 100% has to worry about his quality of life and stuff. Mm-hmm. At what point are you making enough money or have potential to make enough money without having to put your body on the line on an almost nightly basis? And why wouldn't you decide, okay, I'm gonna hang the boots up. I don't need to do this. I can just play video games with my friends and get paid for that. I can just host shows on G4 and get paid for that and be just as famous.
He was 35. He's 35.
Yeah, he just turned 35 2 weeks ago.
So yeah, also my age.
The Achilles injury was after Kofi won the title. It was at a live event on October 21st of 2019.
The knee, right?
he tore the Achilles, and he came back almost 1 year later when he returned, teaming with Kingston to defeat Shinsuke and Cesaro to win the tag titles on his first night back.
Okay.
He tore it on October 21st. He came back October 9th. So literally he was 12 days away from being out 1 calendar year.
Wow. So, I mean, if you're him, if you can walk away from in-ring competition and still have a level of fame in the wrestling world, and he can end up being a commentator. He can end up being on Raw or SmackDown or NXT or AEW doing color commentary and be fantastic at it. We all know.
By the way, go ahead.
I think Pat McAfee would be like the greatest color commentary team of all time.
Yeah.
I'm saying, look, he'd be better on commentary than almost anybody that AEW has. Like
minus Excalibur.
I would take Xavier Woods over modern Jim Ross.
Tope
I love
Suicida.
Tony Schiavone, so maybe not Tony Schiavone, but like modern Jim Ross. Fucking CM Punk last week on commentary, like I was not enjoying that as much as I thought that I would, considering how great he had been on commentary in the past. Like, give me Xavier Woods doing commentary almost anywhere. I would be down for that,
Also,
honestly. And he doesn't even need to do that.
Also, Xavier has a PhD as well in educational psychology.
I love that for him.
Yeah, he's a smart fuck.
I have a PhD, too. Pretty hard dick. Blue chip.
You set him up for that one.
I did.
Hey, baby.
I make a living off of it, baby.
Anyway.
Martinez.
Oh, that's right. No, but I would like to see it happen, but I doubt they'll ever, pull a trigger on that.
I think more that it would be Woods leaving before they pulled the trigger. I think they would actually consider doing it, but I would be more in fear if they don't do it within the next fucking 2 years. That Woods should just be like, you know what, guys, I'm out.
Yeah,
that's valid. I didn't even think of that. Like, I think that's a great. The only reason that I could see it potentially happening, and like, right, I think it's a race against the clock about whether or not Woods just exits stage right, which I wouldn't blame him. But the only reason I could see it maybe happening from a creative Vince thinking about it standpoint is because it would be the three-peat for the New Day.
Right.
Because it would be all of them. And the only other stable where that's happened, 1/3 of those guys basically said, fuck you, Vince, I'm leaving and going elsewhere. And that's, John Moxley, Dean Ambrose. And we all know Vince likes to turn around sometimes and be like, okay, I'm going to erase the thing that made you special, if that's the way you're going to be. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
I definitely don't know that he told, he kind of did John right on the way out.
You're
he
right.
told him that John wasn't renewing his contract.
It was clean, right? Yeah.
That go-away show where, like, they had their last match together.
Mm-hmm.
But they gave John the exit that John deserved.
Yeah, it was clean.
True.
I think the Moxley split was a little bit cleaner than that, because I think Moxley went to Vince and said, hey, I'm not coming back. I'm not renewing my contract.
Right.
I want to try this out. Let's leave things as clean as we can, and let's just agree to do our own things and move on.
Right.
Every other person that's gone to AEW that used to wrestle in WWE, Vince has released.
Right. Well, not
With the
Brian.
exception of Brian.
Well, Brian
With the exception of
Brian.
Brian.
Similar to like John.
Brian and Cole are the only two that he didn't release. Their contracts ran up. They said, we want to go try something else. Okay. Best of luck to you.
Yeah.
If you guys ever need anything, feel free to call me. You have my phone number.
And to their credit too, those are the guys who also are not shit talking WWE or Vince McMahon or anything.
Yeah, Melvin.
Brian out there being like, oh my god, it hurts me to have left, to be honest, but I felt like I had to. And Adam Cole too. Adam Cole has had nothing bad to say about it. In fact, he's disproven stupid ass rumors that Dave Meltzer's put out. Like,
$12 a month, buddy. $12 a month.
But I mean, that goes to show you, though, like, honestly, Adam Cole could have easily turned around and been like, even if it wasn't true, he could have been like, fuck yeah, they had dumb ideas for me. Instead, he was like, I don't know where y'all got this shit from, but I never heard that. So, I mean, like, you have to get, it's interesting because back in the day, and even more recently than that, like, people were okay with burning that bridge, and now it seems like there's a lot of them who aren't burning that bridge. Whether it's because being a stand-up person or because they're just like, WWE's never going anywhere. AEW could easily go out of business one day. WWE's never going anywhere.
If you look at it, Jericho, contract was up, has not engulfed the WWE bridge in flames.
In fact, did a fucking Broken Soul session with Austin a couple months ago.
Cole didn't engulf it, at least not yet. Brian has not engulfed it, at least not yet. John has not even come out and said anything negative about WWE.
Nope.
He just said that he was good. He wanted to try something else. He wanted to be home with his wife a little bit more. This is when they were still traveling a lot. Fine. It makes perfect sense. Who's engulfed that bridge in flames? Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
With that stupid-ass fucking sledgehammer and the throne bullshit at the fucking first pay-per-view. To be extra as fuck.
Yeah, I feel like Eddie Kingston's had more shit to say, and he's never done more in WWE than like a tryout match. And I love Eddie. I love Eddie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So do I.
Shit about WWE on the regular.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost like Cody's like writing his like, hey Eddie, in that promo tonight, make sure you say something stupid about McMahon or Levesque or something like that. Get a dig in there so that you know I don't have to ask Adam or Brian or somebody like that that's going to tell me no.
Now here's a question for you.
Last one.
And then this isn't even related to the topic we just ended up on here. Right?
Okay.
We can just ask this question and then move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Do you think if like a Kevin Owens ends up leaving WWE and going to AEW, is he the guy that's going to walk out there and be like, fuck WWE? Or is he going to also kind of toe the
I don't see that. I see him being good about it.
I think him and Sammy both would be guys they're thankful for their time. They're thankful for what they did for them, but I think they're just going to focus on whatever's put in front of them in AEW.
Smart.
Whether it's their feuds with whoever they're wrestling, whether it's what I don't see them as guys that are going to just shit on it. I just think that they're logical with their decisions. You know, even if Kevin and Sammy realistically say, okay, we're signing 2 or 3 years contract with AEW. When this is up, I'm either re-signing with them or I'm retiring from in-ring work, like completely kind of thing. Like, I'm still not going to shit on them on my way out because it just doesn't make sense. You know, I think Kevin has that professionalism, and I know Sammy does with all of his, you know, humanitarian work and stuff like that. Sammy's not going to burn any kind of bridge that's been helpful for him and for his foundation and stuff like that. I just don't see those two guys being those type of guys.
Right.
But I will say this: if Sami Zayn goes to AEW and he doesn't have a mask on from Tijuana, Canada, and he's a generic luchador, I'm fucking burning the place to the ground.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
All right, Joe.
The orphans have grown up. It's time for Daddy to get back in the ring. Olé.
All right, Joe. We love this week.
I had something. I don't remember it right now.
Oh, come on. Write the shit down, buddy.
I don't know. Give me something. Oh, okay. Like, Big E, you're the world champion now. You had Money in the Bank, and now you have a world title. I love that for you. That was easy, right?
What I love this week is the fact that Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae are having a baby boy. It was announced today on Twitter.
Oh, Mazel Tov.
His name is Austin Theory.
They're having a second child.
Oh, I love that for them.
See, second boy. Here you go. Cheers.
They got 2 kids. Wow. Excellent.
Yeah, Austin Theory and Indy Hartwell. Let's give one away for marriage to Dexter Women.
By the way, that wedding was awesome.
Hey, Rick Steiner's kid. You, made an awesome debut in NXT. I love that for you, even if you can't be called Rick Steiner's kid.
Yeah.
They dressed him like 1993 Steiners.
Sure did.
And then refused to call him a Steiner. That was dumb.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
His name is stupid.
Yeah, dumb.
By the record, too, we're not going to fit it in tonight talking about NXT 2.0. But next week, we should all go out of our way to watch, the first 2 weeks of NXT 2.0, this week's show and next week. And that should be one of the topics next week.
It means your topic.
Kind of where we feel about NXT 2.0. That might be my topic next week.
So next week we're good. The following week is the draft, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
September 30th.
Okay. We'll announce at the end of the show. Continue. I was looking at my calendar.
All right. That's Joe's love it. Whatever he was talking about.
Your topic there, Scoot. Let's
That's
go.
right, to me. All right, last topic here as I hold my son here. Wrestling has been fantastic last couple months, especially, and it got me. And me being back after 17 years and watching the last 2 years, and just the excitement. Not just so much with me watching, but also just the environment of being on the internet and then seeing people around me getting excited about wrestling. People who stopped watching for a number of years, even recently, who stopped watching in like 2015 and 14, getting back into it. So it got me thinking: are we right now in the midst of another golden era? Now, myself, I lived through the Hulkamania era, albeit being very young, but I still watch wrestling even as early as 7, 8 years old. And of course, there's been moments where I dropped off and came back and whatnot. I obviously lived through the Attitude Era and whatnot, and so forth, and then whatnot. But those are you look at the eras that are the most defined eras of the industry. Obviously, Hulkamania era, Attitude Era, to some degree, Ruthless Aggression era. I feel like right now, and is that just relegated to just one promotion. I just think not because there's so much going on, not just in WWE but AEW, and then even the other promotions and New Japan and all that. I feel like right now that we are entering another quote unquote golden era. What do you want to call it? You can name it whatever you want to call it, but I think we're at another inflection point of pro wrestling, and I think for me the big thing that stuffs me more than anything else is the free agency portion of it now. The fact that we're invested now, like in Adam Cole, where he's going to go, or these guys, where they're going to go. Like it's like we're watching NBA or the NFL free agency period. That's kind of the thing that stood out to me the most right now with this era of wrestling. So I think right now we're in another inflection point for wrestling. What do you guys think? Are we another like important time, another golden era-ish type of situation? What do you think?
So okay, here's my thing. How are you defining quote unquote golden era? And like then and what are you? When was the other?
I'll tell you. When wrestling seems important outside the bubble. So Hulkamania era, you had MTV involved.
But wrestling isn't important outside of the pro wrestling bubble right now.
But when you have mainstream stations or publications talking about it, again, Rock and Roll Wrestling, MTV in the mid '80s, it was outside the bubble of wrestling. No,
okay, but if that's what you're using if that's what you're using, like it becomes a pop culture thing.
Yeah, it's bigger than
like
just us.
90s.
Just us nerds.
Arguably, like late 90s pro wrestling was pop culture.
Yes, exactly.
Like, everybody knew who Steve Austin was. The Rock literally has become the biggest star in Hollywood. That happened partly because of his place in 90s
CM Punk's return got mainstream news.
But what news is covering pro wrestling now? And dear God, don't you dare say, well, Rosario Dawson showed up on
No.
Because I would personally
I don't count that.
I would say Logan's literally on your neck right now. I would pay him to choke you out the way Rosario Dawson tried to choke out Malachi Black.
The fact, like CM Punk's return was announced, it was talked about outside his bubble, for example.
By who?
By many, ESPN talked about it. CNN talked about it. I saw it on other stations not named.
ESPN.
Yeah.
ESPN.com had an article about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
When Brutally passed last year, I mean, obviously a sad thing, but it was enough to talk about in the mainstream. Not just
I think the thing that you're coming back to, both of them are coming from the same company. And B, you're bringing two completely controlled topics as your narrative. Punk coming back for the first time in 7 years, and somebody passing away.
Right.
It's not like there was a lot going on in that 12 months in between Brody's untimely passing and Punk coming back that grabbed mainstream attention.
Right.
With the exception of, Vince McMahon has rented out the fucking Amway Center and the whatever dome in Tampa,
right.
And Tony Khan running out of the whatever in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And really, you weren't getting that on a mainstream basis. You were getting that on local Florida channels. Not even really like Joe wouldn't have gotten a bunch of news about that in Maine when he was there. So it's one of those where it's like I could say from a choice selection, from a wrestling selection, from an in-ring selection, from having 5 and 6 companies that are good companies to watch. Yes, you're in a golden era of professional wrestling. And that's with me an hour ago bitching and moaning that I feel like fucking AEW is a car crash. I can at least still admit that their in-ring work is top flight. Their in-ring, like when the bell rings, yes, it's great. The shit leading up to it, I can't stand. I can't fucking get behind. I'll watch because, yes, the matches are great, and it's matches that I don't want to miss as a wrestling fan, but I'm not missing it. But that's a golden era. WWE's putting out matches. Yeah, sure, they're throwaway matches. But you tell me that Bobby Lashley and Big E are actually going to have a wrestling match in a couple weeks as like a rematch for the title, that kind of excites me to see those two big guys go at it. Drew versus Bobby excited me at WrestleMania because it was a good, like the build to that match was good. Now the 18 matches they had afterwards were completely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. It just feels more important than it has in a long time, more than anything else.
Well, what I think is interesting, I think tuning into Ernest's whole pop culture point aspect, I think it's interesting because I think there is something to be said about how right now wrestling is a little bit more pop culture than it's been maybe in the last like 5 or 6 years. And you have different things to kind of credit with that. Like John Cena suddenly becoming kind of a legit movie star.
Yeah.
Everyone knows where John Cena comes from. Like at this point, The Rock isn't necessarily tied into pro wrestling in a lot of people's minds.
No.
I think The Rock has transcended like far past it.
Yeah.
I don't know that many people hear The Rock and think instantaneously WWE. But John Cena, you hear his name, and I think most people are still like, oh, you mean the wrestling guy? Or you mean the WWE guy? John Cena, all of a sudden, he was in Suicide Squad. He was, he's doing all these things. Mm. He is out there enough where he was in the Fast and Furious movie even, So, like, I think he's part of the wrestling being very mainstream, very pop culture right now. I think, the fact that Netflix has, like, a movie starring literally The New Day and The Undertaker coming out on it, like, that's something, I think that, like, WWE more than AEW, I think, it has that pop culture, which is one of the reasons why I think we've all accepted that, like, WWE, they're not going anywhere.
No, of course
you know what I mean? Like, they might end up being sold one day, but they're going to end up being sold to, like, a fucking Disney or something, which doesn't mean they're going anywhere. If anything, it means they've got even more of a engine behind them.
Financial cushion.
Right, exactly. Like, WWE is pop culture in a lot of ways, and it is mainstream, and probably more so than it was back in, what are we in? We're in the year 2021. Back in the year 2011. 10 years ago, WWE wasn't as mainstream. Like, not everybody knew who John Cena was. Not everybody knew who Randy Orton was. And I think a lot more people do know those things now. I think a lot more... I think if you stopped 10 random people on the street and asked them if they knew who John Cena was, like 8 of them would say yes.
Yeah.
And also identify him as being something involving wrestling. And that is interesting.
I just feel like more people talk about wrestling more in a way that they haven't probably even since 1999, 98.
On the Cena standpoint, I'd say 8 out of 10 recognize him as a wrestler.
Yes.
5 out of those 8 recognize him as a wrestler.
Right.
8 out of 10 will recognize who he is. 5 of them would then be like, oh, yeah, the wrestler.
Yeah.
I think the other 3 would be more like, oh, he played this role in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, fair.
Like, something like that, because, like, if they're, like, cartoon, like they follow all that stuff and watch all those movies because they're big cartoon or comic book guy, stuff like that, I think you'd be more into, like, oh, yeah, he was the guy who played this in Suicide Squad, more than he was the guy who's just You Can't See Me.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, still, that's more than 50% out of the 8 that would be stopped would still mention him as a wrestler first, and then whatever else second. I mean, I guess from a standpoint of, I guess when it really started, like, I guess the quote golden era, or the new golden era, or the new, I don't even say golden era, I'm going to say pop culture era.
Right.
Because I feel like this, like, golden era, it's like, I don't know that I'm ready to go to that level.
Okay.
Like, I'm not ready to put 2021 COVID-19 finally going back on the road touring with fans for the first time in forever, so everybody's super hyped up on the same level that I am, like 97 to 99 WCW versus WWE. or like the Hulk Hogan era. Like I'm not ready to put it on that level yet, because there's a lot of fans that are just like, oh my god, I'm so excited to see a show live again. Like I don't give a fuck what they put in the ring. I really don't. But like we'd be remiss to not mention the fact that like the best act from pop culture that has stepped into a wrestling ring in the last 10 years happened this year, and it was the Bunny.
Yeah. And that was a legit thing, too, because 10 years ago, it was Kevin Federline, who was famous for 5 minutes of, like, being married to Britney Spears, and now, like, you literally had one of the top-selling artists in the world at the time that he stepped into a wrestling ring and had a fucking awesome match. Like, that's real.
That made it even cooler.
No, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference. That there is Cyndi Lauper being at the top of the charts in the 1980s, showing up at WrestleMania, and then there's Kevin Federline 10 years ago. Or, like,
Snooki at WrestleMania that one year with Morrison and whatever against Lay Cool and Ziggler.
Right. Like, there was a time in pro wrestling not that long ago where the best they could do was get Kid Rock about 3 years past his prime.
Yeah.
And then there's getting Bad Bunny when he's literally one of the top-selling artists, literally at the top of the charts on a regular basis.
Correct.
Like, getting him at the moment that they got him is the equivalent of getting Cyndi Lauper back at WrestleMania 1.
And not even just getting him for an appearance like they would those guest GMs. Like getting him to actually show up, be involved in a storyline, make multiple appearances, and wrestle at WrestleMania.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I feel like this is more like I'm gonna like name this like the pop culture era, because I feel like this is more like it's more like you can talk about this more out and about with random people than you used to be able to. Like wrestling fans would just have to conversate with wrestling fans, but now like, oh, did you hear that new Bad Bunny song? Oh yeah, Bad Bunny. Did you know he wrestled at WrestleMania? Oh yeah, I saw that. And then you can lead into a conversation. It makes it where it's more like you can have that conversation out in public and not be like, oh, I'm a stupid wrestling fan talking about wrestling while I'm sitting waiting for my food.
It's even like even outside of musicians, like it's even comparable to WCW having Dennis Rodman when they had him.
That's what I'm saying. Like in the late '90s.
Right, like Dennis Rodman was like a retired player from 10 years ago that people like sort of remembered. Dennis Rodman was playing in the finals of the NBA the same year that he was stepping into the ring and teaming with Hulk Hogan. Like that's when you know it matters. You know, that's when you know it's like hitting at a moment where it is part of the pop culture.
And granted, I can't speak on the 17 years in between. But I haven't felt this way about pro wrestling since that time, 1998. Dennis Rodman was playing on the biggest, most popular franchise at that time in the entire country, the Bulls.
I mean, I can't tell you in the year 2005 that there was anything like that.
Okay, I mean,
I don't think that there was. Like,
I don't feel there was, but
like I'm like racking my brain trying to think of even close to that, and I really can't think of anything.
98,
close
you
to
had
that.
Mike Tyson, who was still at the peak of his powers. Granted, he already lost to Buster Douglas age 4 and whatnot in Holyfield, but he was still really, really popular. He was infamous at that time on WWE programming for a good few months. You know, Mike Tyson, Rodman, you said. Carmelo.
He was on for like 3 shows in a 4-month period.
Right. Carmelo was MVP the year he was hanging out with WCW. So, you know, I haven't felt this way about pro wrestling in terms of importance outside our little bubble in a long time.
I still don't know that I would list it as being
Jimmy Fallon showed up for a couple of SummerSlam.
Okay.
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart, right.
Okay, if it had been Jimmy Fallon, it actually feels like it would have mattered more. See,
Correct.
That's it though, right? Like back in the day, WCW had Jay Leno.
Yes, and he was huge.
And WWE got Jon Stewart, who like wasn't even hosting the Daily Show anymore at that point. That is exactly what we're talking about.
No, he was actually he finished in 2016, I think, right before the election in 2016. So he was still actually hosting, but he was already on the downswing. So
I don't think he was there until I want to say it was 16, 17.
That's what I thought too. It was like right after he left Daily Show.
Did he show up at the SummerSlam in 2014 though, or 2015?
It might have been 2015, 2016. It definitely wasn't 2014.
Okay.
It was whenever two shows were in Brooklyn.
His show ended in 20. Go, we're back on again. Keep going.
Oh, so we got cut from the recording.
No. The video's recording fine, but it's the audio that cut off apparently here. Sorry about that. Go ahead. Great.
I'm trying to find whenever Jon Stewart showed up in WWE. I want to say it's 15, 16.
15, 16.
I'm guessing 15.
Yeah, Jon Stewart showed up helping Rollins win the double title match against Cena at 15.
Right.
Okay.
And that was the one that also had Stephen Amell teaming up with Neville to take on Stardust and Barrett.
Weren't you there too, Mr.
Yeah, we were
Lopez?
there.
Yeah, we were both there.
Both there. Okay, yeah.
Might have been asleep during most of that, but we were there.
All right, let's get to.
I remember the Stephen Amell match. That match was actually fairly decent.
Yeah, he's good in the ring.
All right, guys.
You should watch his show.
Whose show?
Stephen Amell wrestling.
Heels? I haven't watched it.
I've watched the first 4 episodes. It's really good.
Good?
I like it.
All right, fellas. Best of the week. Let's do it.
I have a Stars login. I'll send it to you.
Where's my music at? There he goes. Let's turn low for. Got that.
We need a new song. I'm over this song.
Give me a suggestion. I'll change it. This is Mike's idea.
No, it wasn't.
It was good, but I'm a little over it.
Give me an idea and I'll change it. I have no problem with that.
What else is a good Wrestler of the Week song? We should write our own jingle.
I'm not with that.
Damn, number 1. Bring out Nelly.
Yes,
Bring out the Nelly.
give us Nelly. There we go.
What does it take to be number 1?
Don't even give us Nelly. Just give us Mike doing Nelly.
All right. Let me, hold on. Reveal my list real quick. Number 3 this week from me, Braun Breaker. The son, of course, you mentioned earlier, of one Rick Steiner. Nice debut. Number 2 for me, Tommaso Ciampa, the new NXT champion. And number 1, of course, I mean, we said we're going to reveal the leaderboard here. Big E.
Oh, yeah.
You're the worst, Joe.
My list at number 1, of course, is the new.
You never copy off of the attractive kid. You always copy off of the one that looks more intelligent.
At number 1, I have the new champion, the man, the myth, the legend, Big E. In second, I have the new NXT champion, Tommaso Ciampa. And at number 3, I have a man who won a match on SmackDown, but I thought it was a really good match. And that is none other than the Monday night, or the Friday night Messiah. Now, I'm going to put Seth Rollins in there for
Ooh, I like that. A good match today, too.
It was. All right, so...
Has there ever been a WWE champion with more thickness than Big E?
I don't think so. I think he's optimal thickness.
He is in the thick of it all.
Like him? No?
He's in the thick of it.
Big E, he got them booty clapping booty cheeks.
All right, so the updated standings are in first place with 17 points is the new WWE champion, Big E.
Mm-hmm.
In second is the almost superhero with 15. Randy Orton is in third with 12. Roman Reigns in fourth with 11. Then we have a tie between Matt Cardona, Malachi Black, Chris Jericho, Christian, Ilya Dragunov, Trevor Murdoch, and Damian Priest with 10 each. That is the top 11 through week number 9 of the Wrestlers of the Week.
It only took us 8 weeks to get a new leader, huh?
How about open the show and fucking Nikki had just cashed in the same night she wanted her, basically.
Yeah.
How about intro Wrestler of the Week every week with a little Tina Turner, like Simply the Best?
Oh, I like that.
But just
but I don't know if I can play it though because of copyright shit. So I don't know if that could work.
Oh.
So.
What's about they haven't caught up in this
yet? I got striked once already for something recently. So. It was NWO. It was NWO music actually that I used on my podcast a couple weeks ago.
Oh, you're the worst.
Yeah, I'm the worst, dude.
All right. So before we wrap this show up, Joe sent us something in the group chat. Can we comment on that real quick?
Okay.
Ric Flair versus Trevor Murdoch for the NWA title at the fucking NWA show in, like, December.
I thought it was a joke.
Dude, what if they put the title on him and he becomes a, like, 17-time champion?
Woo! Now I want to see it now. Shit.
I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest.
This would have popped, man.
Flair found the one promotion that would let him win a world title to break his tie with John Cena.
Right, exactly.
That'd be crazy.
He drops it like a week later to somebody random.
I mean, because the thing, too, is, like, most of the titles that he held in that reign are the NWA world title. Like,
That'd be crazy.
So bad.
I mean, is it even a golden era of pro wrestling if Ric Flair isn't a champion at some point during it?
Well, I think we're going to find out in a couple months.
Fair point. It's a fair point there, Joe.
I mean, that's pretty bad, dude. Oh, my God. I can't believe he's actually going to get in the ring at, like, 937 years old.
Yeah. Well, he can't it's fine.
How is she letting her dad wrestle? Like, Alessa Andrade is coming out to cheat and help him win. Like, I don't understand how this is possible.
Yo, that would be crazy. Imagine if it's all just a setup and, like, Flair does the whole entrance and he's got on, like, the robe and stuff, and he gets into the ring, and then he's like, y'all thought I was actually going to wrestle? Ha, ha, ha. And then Andrade comes out and ends up being the NWA World Champion.
I'd get behind it.
That wouldn't shock me, to be honest with you, at this point.
I almost hope that's what happens now.
Put all cards on the table.
I really don't want to see Ric Flair wrestle a match.
Yeah.
But if he does actually wrestle that match, you're a little intrigued, right? Like, you kind of want to watch it if it
You
doesn't.
have to watch it. I mean, it's not what I want to. You have
Dude,
to.
you kidding me?
You have to see how bad of a car crash it is. If we're going to sit through Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson with no build, I have to sit through a shit Ric Flair match with at least 4 months worth of build. At least they gave me a build in this match.
Yeah, for real.
Fuck.
Holy shit. I mean, wow.
Oh, my.
Anyway. Any final thoughts we get out of here?
What did I say my topic was going to be next week? I think I totally said it during the
NXT
show.
2.0 review. 2-week review.
The NXT 2.0 two-show review.
Yeah, so make sure you guys watch. I mean, Mike, you will. Ernest, make sure you make time.
I'm gonna watch Tuesday's show tomorrow while I'm playing poker.
I already watched it.
Watch next week's show also.
Yeah,
Let's give 2.0 a proper review.
I will say right now, out the gate, I was impressed. I watched
You
it
want to
today.
give Matt and Jeff from AEW a review?
It took me a minute.
It did.
It took me a minute.
All right, so before we wrap it up, breaking news for you guys here. We dabbled a little bit about it.
Wait. We got breaking news? We got breaking news? Sorry. Had to.
Good friend of the show, Jim, from the 3 Count Show, is going to join us on the September 30th show here, where we are going to partake in the WWE draft. We're going to draft full shows using the available rosters, which I'm currently working on. I'm going to talk to you guys off air because I want your guys' opinion on this before I finish the roster, so send you guys via email. So what we're going to do is myself and Joe are going to be a pair. We're representing the blue brand of SmackDown. Ernest and Joe will be representing Monday Night Raw. We're going to draft, and then we'll put the rosters up on our social media, which is at Take3Wrestling on Twitter, for you guys to vote on who built the better roster.
I like it. Can't wait. 2 weeks from now.
Me and Joe have already entered the war room, and we've already started ranking people, so Ernest...
Can we draft Jimmy Fallon? Well, what was the guy's name?
Jon Stewart.
Jon
Jeez,
Stewart.
What's wrong with you?
What the hell? Ernest, you're the worst. All right, I'm going to go back.
No, Joe, you're
fired.
Done. You're done.
John Stamos is on our short list, by the way, guys. Just want you to know. John
Hell
Stamos.
yeah. Because you know what he brings with him? It's like when they signed Randy Savage in WCW, they got with him the Slim Jim account. If you sign John Stamos, you get the Quakos account.
Oh, man, let's go.
All right. So
It's all about the yoga bit.
I guess we're done, right?
I bid you all adieu.
I do.
You see.
Good night, fellas.
Bye.